Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, it is Monday, August 6th. Welcome to the Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams sitting in today for Alex, who will be joining us by phone in roughly 30 minutes. Obviously, things are going crazy in the world of liberty. This shooting at the Milwaukee Sikh temple is obviously a staged event. And we're going to break it down for you right here on the Alex Jones Show for the next 3 hours. And I want to thank you for joining us today. We're going to be taking calls and actually opening up the phones and specifically asking for calls from law enforcement who may have firsthand knowledge of whether there were drills. In fact, according to the news that's coming out, Paul Watson is going to be posting a story in just a few minutes on Infowars.com that talks about the drills behind this. So if you're a law enforcement officer, a peace officer, call us at 800-259-9231, and we'll get you on the air in about 15 minutes or so. Between now and then, we're going to be breaking down this story. Alex Jones will be joining us at the bottom of this hour with a call-in of his analysis breaking down the situation. In addition, he's just posted a roughly 2-minute video. The latest update has just been posted on the Real Alex Jones channel on YouTube.com. We've got all of that and much more coming up. There are similarities between this and the Aurora, Colorado shooting. We're going to be going over those similarities. I mean, look, folks, look. This guy, this shooter, Wade Michael Page, where did he get his training? Psychological operations officer at the U.S. Army base in Fort Bragg. Come on, people, come on. I mean, how more obvious does it need to get? We've got an eyewitness saying that there were 4 shooters, 4 men dressed in, I think he describes black clothing, probably tactical gear, 4 men who were involved in the shooting. That's from an eyewitness, and we're going to play that video just in a few minutes for you. This smacks of a setup, of a staged event for the same agenda as the Aurora, Colorado shooting, excuse me, which is to, of course, blame the Second Amendment, which is to demonize veterans. Again, this shooter, Michael Wade Page, was a U.S. Army veteran. To demonize patriots and to call for the complete disarmament of the American public. So that's what's going on. Major breaking news. We're going to be breaking it down. But in addition to that, we're going to cover some other topics here. A huge expose has just been published about the Susan G. Komen organization and their deceptions. The British Medical Journal has published an article by 2 scientists who accuse Komen, the Komen group, Komen For The Cure, of running deceptive ads and tricking women into getting mammograms that have dubious benefits. In fact, the benefits have been greatly exaggerated and they may harm more women than they help. So we're going to be breaking down that story in more detail here. Also, malicious lies about bottled water. They want to add fluoride to all of your bottled water now by saying that bottled water harms your teeth because it doesn't have fluoride in it. Can you believe that? It's a full-on assault in America today on your brain, on your mind. It's all psychological operations. It's all mind control. It's all deception. It's all theater. They want you fluoridated. They want you dumbed down. They want you disinformed. And we are here at InfoWars to combat all of that in the information war with accurate information, with intelligent analysis, with the real story of what's going on in our world, the story that you won't get anywhere else in any media. So that's why you got to stay tuned in here on the Alex Jones Show. We've got just about a minute left before we go to break here, and then we're going to come back and really start digging into this. There's also more news. There's been a raid on a farm in Canada with a farmer there, Michael Schmidt. We're going to have him on the show in another hour or so. Obama's campaign website has been caught selling hemp, even though hemp is illegal to grow in America. All of that and much more straight ahead on the Alex Jones Show, so stay with us. That hardcore breakdown coming straight ahead. Stay with us. All right, it is Monday, August 6th, 2012. You are listening to the Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, sitting in for Alex today. Alex will be joining us by phone for his update on the Sikh shooting. And thank you for joining us. For the next 3 hours, we're going to be breaking down the details of this shooting, which is an obvious psychological operation, a psyop. It's obviously a staged event. But we've got some other news to cover as well. There's breaking news in the world of cancer fraud and attacks on bottled water, how they're trying to fluoridate the population. There's been a raid in Canada. We're going to hit those later on. But first, let's break down the shooting situation in Milwaukee. Number one, this is the thing to keep in mind. Oh, and by the way, the phones are opened up right now for law enforcement, peace officers who may have knowledge of any drills that took place in Milwaukee before this shooting. So call us at 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. The phones are open right now, and we're asking for law enforcement or those with specific knowledge of drills that were taking place there, because that's the MO here. They scheduled drills, and then they ran the drill, and peace officers who had no idea that this was going to be a live shooting they took part in the drills, and then they showed up. Turns out we have a witness who says they saw 4 men conducting the shooting. Not the lone gunman that's now being put out there by the media, but 4 men, and we're going to play that audio, that video with that witness for you in just a minute. Plus, Alex Jones has posted a 2-minute video on YouTube, and we're going to be playing that for you here in just a few minutes. It's the latest update, the latest analysis of the situation. But let's get down to the basics. Number one, it's on, people. It is on. The rollout of planned violence is underway in America. It's only been, a couple of weeks since the Aurora, Colorado shooting, and that was obviously a staged event. This is another staged event. The shooter, Wade Michael Page, was an E4 psychological operations specialist with the U.S. Army, trained in Fort Bragg. He received the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, the Army Good Conduct Award, the National Defense Service Medal, the Humanitarian Service Medal, and the Parachutist Badge. This guy was a highly trained psychological operations specialist. Now, what does that have to do with the agenda here? Think about it. Aurora, Colorado, mind control research, U.S. government-funded research, NIH grant money to James Holmes, that shooter, who was an expert in mind control. Time shifts, temporal shifting, changing perception. Well, and this guy, Michael Wade Page, an expert in PSYOP. The whole thing was a PSYOP. The whole shooting was a PSYOP, except he probably didn't realize he was going to be the patsy. You see, they never know they're going to be the patsy. It's like if you sit down at a game of poker and you don't know who the mark is, you're the mark, right? This guy probably was taking part in what he thought was going to be a psychological operation. This is just conjecture at this point, this statement, and then he ended up being the patsy and ended up being shot. That's the other thing that these shootings have in common. They always leave somebody behind to get shot or get arrested, and in the case of James Holmes, drugged into oblivion so they can't talk. All right, now we are expecting in the next few minutes an article by Paul Watson to be posted on Infowars.com, so watch for that. Refresh that website every couple of minutes to get that information. Drudge Report is also, of course, covering this breaking news as it's coming out, and we've got more analysis coming up for you right here on the Alex Jones Show. Now, as far as we know right now, this shooting was done with a semi-automatic pistol, a 9mm pistol. Now, there is an effort underway out there in the liberal media, especially, to try to confuse people about what is an automatic weapon versus a semi-automatic weapon. They're trying to get people to think that, oh, you could just go out and buy an automatic weapon. No, you can't. Not legally. They're hard to get. They're very, very expensive. You want a fully automatic weapon, you have to pay a tax stamp, you have to get approval from the ATF, and you have to pay anywhere from, let's say, $12,000 to about $60,000 to buy a full auto weapon. Almost nobody can get those. Nobody's got that kind of money. The weapons that are available today for armed legal citizens to purchase are semi-automatic, which means you pull the trigger once for each round that goes out the barrel. Semi-automatic. But that's what they're going after now. That's part of the agenda here, is to try to outlaw semi-automatic weapons like they did in Australia, to make everybody turn in your weapons, to disarm the entire public. And unbelievably, even conservative talk show hosts have been on board pushing for this disarmament of the American public, not telling people what really happens in those cases. Once the public is disarmed, then the mass murder begins. Then the genocide begins. This is what has happened throughout human history. And to help explain that, I've got a video coming out here. We're going to show this later on, probably in the third hour too, that talks about how your doctor is 6,200% more likely to kill you than a crazed homicidal shooter is anyway. So you got to get your head around the real risk assessment here. The odds of being killed by a crazy homicidal shooter are so low in America. They're infinitesimally small. You have a greater risk of being killed by a bee sting, literally, statistically speaking. All right, now, this article by Paul Joseph Watson has just been posted. It's red-linked on Infowars.com. Go there now. Check out this article. Here's the title. Sikh temple shooter was in Army psychological operations. Batman shooter James Holmes also connected to Army psychiatrist. Now, I'm just seeing this for the first time, but let me highlight it for you as best we can in real time right here. And then we're going to go to the video of the witness who saw the shooters. So get that queued up, guys, who said there were 4 shooters. Here's the article by Paul Joseph Watson. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but let me give you the highlights. Following the pattern of numerous other mass shooters, the accused gunman behind yesterday's massacre at a Sikh temple in Wisconsin worked in psychological operations while he was with the U.S. Army. He has similarities to accused Colorado shooter James Holmes, who was treated by University of Colorado psychiatrist Dr. Lynn Fenton, a former U.S. Air Force doctor. Questions have already been asked about what drugs Holmes was on, such as Paxil, Zoloft, or Prozac, which have been proven to induce violent tendencies in some people. Virtually all of the well-known mass shooting cases over the last 20 years were carried out by individuals who had been prescribed drugs by psychiatrists. So this is another link. Is there a psychiatry drug behind this shooting, as there have been with so many other shootings? Now, here's the big breaking news right here. The chairman of the temple that was targeted in this shooting says, quote, there were a few suspicious men were seen on temple premises before the shooting, suggesting the involvement of more than one person. And again, this confirms the witness, and let's run that video now, the witness who saw 4 shooters or 4 men involved in the shooting raid. Go ahead and run that video right now.
We have our temple service every Sunday. Starts around 10:30, and usually goes in the afternoon. And around 10, between 10 and 10:30, 4 white males who were dressed darkly, dressed in all black clothing, came in and opened fire on our congregation. And from what I'm told, about 20 to 25 people have been hit. And my uncle was one of them. He's been taken to the hospital. I don't know how many others have been taken to the hospital. But basically, there are people hiding in there right now, or there were. I don't know how many hostages are left. One of the gunmen is down, so there's 3 left. And we're just praying that everyone gets out safely and they're able to capture these gunmen. And ideally, bring them to justice.
All right, yeah, that's good right there. So that audio was not great, but if I heard it correctly, he said there were 4 white males that came in and started shooting. And that was an Associated Press video, by the way. That wasn't just somebody with a webcam there or a phone cam. Associated Press video. So look, you know, one thing that strikes me, and by the way, phones are open. We're going to go to calls here in a second. One thing that strikes me as odd, that guy seemed really, really calm. Now, I'm not saying he's not who he says he is. Maybe he's had some emergency training, or he's seen combat before, or he's an EMT or something. But one of the weird things about all these shootings is that a lot of the witnesses that talk to the news, they are eerily calm. They're not running around panicked like most everyday people would be.